I know what's going on in education. You speak about Common Core. Virginia doesn't have Common Core, and we're still under the guidelines of the federal government, the money being handed down, the SOL. I'll talk to teachers. I was on the school board, kind of school board back in the mid-90s. SOLs, you know, they're just telling teachers what to teach and how to teach. Sure. We got to get local control of education. We have, you'll verify this when he was running for the Republican in the Republican primary, is that we got to get the government out of education. That's going to be very, very hard to do because they send us money and they got a grip on this, and I just don't see how we're going to eliminate the government out of education without an uphill battle. And one other thing too, I could go on and on because kids, it's a soft place in my heart for kids. They're trying to change their behavior, their values, and their beliefs, and with this green movement, Common Core. Just because you say a state is getting rid of Common Core, they're going to repackage that baby and send it down. You know the various names. It's, like I say, it's got an uphill battle, and I'll leave it like this. Why don't we just call Agenda 21 communism? Because that's what it is, and I don't hear anybody say that word.
I have started to do that. Every once in a while, I try not to sound so radical, but at some points they push you to a certain point. You got no choice. You've got to say it is what it is, and that's exactly what it is. I was involved in the 1990s. We did everything we could to stop school to work, goals 2000, workforce development boards, and senator from Ohio. We had stopped the workforce development boards 3 times in Congress. And senator from Ohio took it out in the Senate. And he called my office and promised me all kinds of things. If any of that bad stuff happens, I'll be right there for it. Yeah, right. It's not even in the Senate anymore. And thank goodness. And he went to the floor of the Senate. We had the Senate meeting for the 4th time. He went to the floor of the Senate, and he went around the senators and he said, Tom DeWeese and Phil Schlafly are in favor of this bill. Went around and said, Phil Schlafly at the time from Eagle Forum was on the Michael Reagan show that day, and he wanted her to talk about national defense or something. And she says, no, we've got to talk about this workforce development. We've got to stop this thing. While she's on the radio saying that, he's on the floor saying she's kidding. This is outright lies. This is the way they do these things. Ronald Reagan, unfortunately, blew the greatest chance we had to get rid of the Federal Department of Education. And somebody said the other day that what we needed to do was, if we could get into the position of power to do it, that we start repealing one agency at a time backwards in the order that they were put in place. So here at the Department of Homeland Security, and then we get rid of the Department of Education. Go that way. There's a whole lot we have to do. There's no question. But I can't emphasize this enough. I understand. Everything you're saying is absolutely true. It's huge, mammoth. But every journey starts with one step, and we have been making those steps. I liken it to we're in Normandy on D-Day, and we just got a beachhead on Utah Beach, and we're moving inland. And little tiny little beachhead, but we never had that before. We never had people fighting back before. This is what's got them so concerned about. Where do these guys come from? Great. And you've got to keep your head up. You've got to keep doing that. If you begin to believe you're defeated, you are. I refuse. I constantly call myself the Pollyanna of this movement. I see the good. Look at it from my perspective. As you get into this and you say, whoa, look at this, all this is already in place. I'm sitting here going, all those years when nothing was happening, look at this. I'm thrilled. We're going to get more. We're training. I'm now doing a series of webinars every month. We're starting. We just did the first one June 8th. We're going to do the second one July 13th. And we're taking Agenda 21 step by step by step. I'm bringing in some of the greatest experts in this country to talk about it. We're going to talk about Common Core. We're going to talk about even health care, all the pieces of parts. We're going to keep having these until we got nothing left to say. And it's a college course on Agenda 21. It'll be archived on my website, so you can go in and see it over and over. And the last one we just did, I love this. I had some ladies on there from Florida. I had been down in Orlando speaking. They were on the same ticket. They were speaking. And they were talking about the fighting the regional plan down there. And they had a piece of video you would not believe. They had a planner. You ever wonder what does it sound like to be in those back rooms, what they really say, what they really think? This guy, this arrogant guy, thought he was talking to a room full of planners and compadres. And the stuff that came out of his mouth, he didn't realize there was this whole little contingent of Tea Party people over here. The county had come in with their cameras to videotape. They're going to put it on their closed circuit county television network. And you can hear in the videotape people going, he was saying things like, fascism is sufficient. And, Agenda 21, it goes all the way to the UN, just like we say. And then he said to them over and over again, stop listening to these fools out there getting in trouble. Don't waste your time on that. Just do it. Trust us. Just do it. This is a very good government in America. We got the video. We showed it on the webinar. So, yeah. Don't despair. That's my number one message to you. Well, I said to Michael Shaw, one of the, there were four of us at one time when I was out speaking about this, and I said to him one day, I said, Michael, we have circled the wagon so tightly, we've got one wagon left. I said, let's charge. That's what else do we have to do? That's what we had to do. Yeah.
I suggest that you show a visual of what one of these lovely communities can look like. Get a picture of one of the ghost cities in China. They're beautiful. And then tell them nobody lives there.
Yeah, they're starting to fill them, I understand.
This is what you want in practice. This is what happens. And do you really want this?
Here's something. This isn't what you're asking for, but you brought it to mind. This is a graphic. I wish I had it up on the screen so you could all see it. This is a graphic from Nature magazine on an article that was all about how wonderful Agenda 21, sustainable development is. And what it shows here is a crossroads. And this way, it says economic growth. And it has all these belching smokestacks in these cities. See that? The other way is sustainable progress.
That's what they're teaching our children.
How beautiful it is. Pasture, the beautiful here. What's missing on that side?
Jobs.
Exactly. There's no homes. There's no jobs. There's nothing. And these belching smokestacks is a myth. It doesn't exist anymore. Maybe in China, but not in the United States. We've spent over $1 trillion in this country on environmental cleanup. You listen to these fools day in and day out, you think we've never done it. Spent a dime on it. They're never satisfied because the plan hasn't been fully put in place yet. That's why. One other thing I want to share with you. The American Planning Association says over and over again, we have nothing to do with Agenda 21.
Yep.
You got pens and paper, write down plannersnetwork.org. Plannersnetwork.org. This is an organization the American Planning Association belongs to. This organization that says it has absolutely nothing to do with Agenda 21. I didn't go into specifics today about the 3 E's of Agenda 21, but the 3 E's are economic development, social equity, and environmental protection. Those are the 3 E's. That covers every aspect of your life. Every document that you look at, everything you go into shows something about the economy, social justice, and the environment. You'll see it everywhere. This statement of principles that you'll find on plannersnetwork.org says, quote, their statement of principles, we believe planning should be a tool for allocating resources and eliminating the great inequalities of wealth and power in our society because the free market has proven incapable of doing this. That is the bottom line of the local planners operating in your community, this is what they believe. Redistribution of wealth and kill capitalism. That's what it's about. That's theirs, not mine.
Durbin's going to
Okay.
ask a question.
Close it. Thank you. It was very, very enlightening what you said. Some of us, I think, have an inkling of what you're talking about, but you brought it to the forefront. My question is that if we go after the Sierra Club, and we go after talking about cutting it off there, but doesn't this thing run a lot deeper than that? And maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but people like George Soros and the Tides Foundation and those kinds of groups, are they not funding and encouraging this thing? And it runs all the way through into Congress. And
Oh, without question. Without question.
so we have a much bigger battle.
Well, it's huge. There's no question. They're totally entrenched. They've got all of this, everything covered. You've got the news media covered. You've got Hollywood covered. Everywhere you turn, what do you see anymore when you're watching television or in a crowd of people or anything comes up in Congress and everything? It's we are all crazies. We are racist. Saturday Night Live does these skits all the time about how stupid Republicans are. And it's just, ingrained into our whole society. No question about it. The bottom line is, on the local level, your local elected officials, they do have the power to stand up to it. They have the power to say, we're not taking that grant from the federal government. But see, these NGO groups start saying, they're costing us local tax dollars. That's our money. Look what they're doing to us. I'm sorry, but what you have to do is get people who are strong enough to stand up and say, bull. That's a noose around my neck and around my community. That's not a privilege or a good thing. And have your local elected officials start to run your community from the local level. You do it from here. You begin to do it from the state. There are state movements now. There's a movement of state legislators that are coming together to throw out the influence of the federal government and exercise their 10th Amendment rights. They can do it at that level. Do it on the local level. Begin to do it in both cases. You will put, this monster back in its cage, and we will restore the republic. It ain't going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen with one sign waving. It's not going to happen with a letter to the editor. It's going to happen with persistence. That's all you can do is keep fighting. What do you got to do otherwise? Except say to the republic, we've got no choice. We've got to fight. But here's the thing. There are thousands of you now, and it's growing. They have done everything they can to kill the Tea Party, to make you look bad, to cost you everything they can do. And you're still here. And we're starting to get more sophisticated, and we're learning how to operate inside. And we're getting candidates to run for office. And we're even winning some of them. They're showing the Thad Cochran's election down there. This is a tactic they're using. We just had this in Fauquier County. They're bringing Democrats in for a Republican election. In Fauquier County, we had the election of the Fauquier County Republican chairman and choosing the members of the board of the Republican Party. Right. The Piedmont Environmental Council brought in Democrats. We had people standing in line who were hearing people behind them in front of them saying, boy, it's really weird to be here at a Republican gathering, isn't it? You're going to vote for the county chairman for the Republican Party? This is the tactic they're using. But, in Fauquier, our guy is challenging that vote. What's his name, McDaniel? Voting Cochran. He is challenging what happened in his election. That's what we have to do. Somebody gets 140% of the vote, you might want to ask a question.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Man left. You're absolutely right with a lot of this. I went to college, one of those, and my background is historic preservation. So I took all sorts of planning classes, and it's quite true what they're showing and how they're showing it. Like Levittown, the first suburb, and then hate it afterwards because it's not sustainable, et cetera, et cetera. But I think something that we need to keep in mind when speaking to elected officials is they're bombarded with tons of ads and lobbyists to tell them certain things, and not all of them know exactly what's going on, because we have this thing ingrained from school that trust an expert, or you get questioned. Well, are you a constitutional expert? Well, I've read it.
More than most.
So have a little mercy with that. But also, it's quite true that it's in high school, especially in college. And one thing to keep in mind with that, if anyone's read F.A. Hayek's Road to Serfdom, it's a wonderful piece. And he describes how Hitler rose to power. And it wasn't a lot of the socialists and all. It was the college students that didn't get the jobs because the unions controlled a lot of Germany. Bismarck was the previous individual was very much socialist, so they controlled everything. Well, these experts, these college guys, couldn't get it, so they voted him in, and after a while, they became the SS, and you heard about their engineers, the rockets, all this over-engineered stuff. Why? Because they knew better. So it's a big aspect of, I know more than you, I've been schooled, you haven't. And it's also a bitter pill if, say, you're an elected official and you learn this, that you may have been duped or just wrong about something. But it also points out to a larger issue of principles. Without Christian principles, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, the 10 Commandments, without a firm background and firm foundation of those principles, you're left with government because nothing else means anything. It's all relative. So if we are going to fix this, anything, we got to go back to the beginning, and we have to go back to what Scripture really says, and not leave it at a relativist nothing. And the church has done a poor job, and we need to go back if we're going to survive.
I have chosen for
Okay, turn it back on.
crazy reasons. I've had on my bookshelf at home, I have a very extensive library. I have this book that has been there for over 30 years. And for some reason, about 2